So every single game is extremely important. If Real Madrid don't win a trophy, I mean, we're talking. It will be an uprising in Madrid. That can't happen in any season. So they have to be on in every single match.
Here's how it all stands in the title race after Saturday. Barca face Real Sociedad on Sunday with a chance to go back top by a point from Atleti, but they've got to win that game. Let's focus on the title race to start with. Real Madrid are going to be thinking, what on earth have we done here?
Yes, tough for them, right? I mean, and obviously all of these teams had reasons to look at these fixtures, thinking about Champions League midweek. All of these teams had reasons to worry with these matches, playing difficult sides, a lot of them on the road. It's not easy. Atleti playing at home against a side that hadn't lost in 16 matches in La Liga. And Real Madrid now will feel like we missed an opportunity here. Even though it's against the Betis side on the road that's very difficult, it almost was like the energy just wasn't there. You'd like to think this Real Madrid side, knowing that there's a long way to go in this Liga title race, them also being in the Champions League, you'd like to think that you'd see a little bit more, I don't want to say effort, but a little bit more I don't know what the word, a little more conviction to be able to find and go out and try to find a winner and try to be at your top level against a side like Betis. Is always going to be difficult, but look at the next matches are not going to get any easier for any of these sides either. So I don't know. It is a difficult situation for Real Madrid. I do think that there's a long way to go, and this is not done and dusted by any means. Real Madrid will still have an opportunity to get back into this race, but it's a missed opportunity, and it's almost because of how it happened. Because it was a bit lackadaisical, no sense of urgency from Real Madrid, thinking that it almost seemed like they're up in La Liga by 10 or 12 points like we've seen them in the past with the attitude that they had towards this match.
We'll talk a bit more about Real Madrid in just a second and recap their game, but let's focus on Atletico Madrid. It was a game when we were watching it throughout that it kind of was calling for a moment of quality for both sides. They were creating opportunities, but there wasn't that spark for Atletico Madrid. Luckily, they were able to call on Julian Alvarez about 57 minutes when he came on, and he was able to turn the game. And it must have been amazing for someone like Diego Simeone, who's made that call to rest a player like that, to bring him on, and he scores the winning goal.
Yeah, it's credit to Simeone, right? It's not easy in a match where you know that you need to win to continue on in this fight for La Liga in a very difficult race between against your two biggest rivals. So credit to Simeone for playing it perfectly. He rested Julian in the first 60 minutes. If you look at their fixture list coming up in both Champions League and in La Liga, it is not easy by any means. So it was a risk. It pays off for him. He scores on one of his first touches, just like less than 10 minutes in from when he came onto the pitch. He was deployed at the right time, and like you mentioned, it was a game that needed a moment of brilliance. And when you have a player like Julian Alvarez to make sure to be able to come in and give you that moment of brilliance to win a game, it's a nice place to be if you're Simeone, but also it takes a lot of preparation, and also it takes some guts to leave him out of the starting 11 and to then bring him on when you need a winner.
How much of a key part of this team is he? He makes them tick, doesn't he? And I feel like, from what we've seen from him previously, obviously he's still a young player, but the difference that we're seeing from him this season, he's gone to become a cold-hearted killer in front of goal.
Yeah, and I feel like you've seen this, progress slowly but surely. Being at Manchester City was always going to be difficult with Erling Haaland in front of him. It was going to be difficult for him to be the main man, to be the guy who's going to be the leading striker for a top side. And this was his opportunity with Atletico Madrid. It did take a bit for him to get going and to get used to life in La Liga. But now it's clinical in moments that matter the most. I mean, this goes back even to his days at River Plate when he won the Copa Libertadores with River Plate, scored a goal in the final, plays in the World Cup for Argentina, and probably the second best player on that team besides Lionel Messi. So he does it in big moments, and he's showing that he is clinical in front of goal with just different types of ways to score goals. He does it on the break. He can do it setting up into the box, getting into the right positions for a rebound. So he does it in multiple ways, and he's showing his quality all around.
We've seen it with players in the past at Manchester City, even when they're not the first choice. They kind of stick around far too long. They're taking the paycheck and they just sit on the bench. But how much maturity did it show from him, his agent, the people that are around him to think, I need to go elsewhere and show the world what I can do?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy when you're at a club that's used to winning everything and winning trophies with Manchester City. And then to decide, look, if we want to take the next step in our career, if we want to be at the same stature of the top strikers in the world, got to go somewhere else. You can't be in the shadow of an Erling Haaland. So I give him a ton of credit. And he also picks a spot smartly, goes to a place with Diego Simeone where he has the familiarity with, being not just being himself there, but having Griezmann there as a veteran to help lead him. And he doesn't have to be the emotional leader of this team. He can just be a guy who can score a ton of goals and be the leader, but Griezmann's there to be the veteran leader in that locker room. And I think that's huge, so that he doesn't have that pressure on him. It's still a very young player.
We talked about the in-game management from Simeone to recognise the moment to bring him on. But also this season, this isn't the first time that this has happened. When he brings in substitutes, they tend to come on the field for him and score goals. Look at this.
16 goals by 6 different players coming off the bench this season. It's usually Sorloth, who's been the super sub of all super subs across Europe, really. Today, it's the opposite. Sorloth starts the game, creates some opportunities, can't get the goal. But, Julian Alvarez this time comes off the bench and he gets the goal. It really is impressive. At some point, you have to say that it's not just luck by chance by Simeone. He's pulling the right strings at the right moments and getting these players in positions to score goals coming off the bench with fresh legs. That is a huge advantage to have in any match, for especially at this level, and for a club that plays so many different competitions, has so many fixtures. It's so important to be able to get scoring off your bench, and he's pulling the right strings at the right time.
It's picking the right moment, but also giving the player the right message to say, right, you're coming on at this time, and this is what you need to do to go and score, and it works. Let's talk a bit more about Real Madrid, because it was such a frustrating afternoon for them. We had 2 wily old foxes going head-to-head, didn't we, on the touchline, Carlo Ancelotti and Manuel Pellegrini. You could make the point today that Manuel Pellegrini outcoached his rival.
A bit. I do think that if Real Madrid get the Vini and the Mbappe that we're used to seeing on a week-to-week basis, I do think that it would be a bit different. This match would have gone a bit differently. Pellegrini is a fantastic coach. We have to remember that, he's won at a lot of different places. He has been one of the top coaches in the world for quite some time. So he does have the ability to outcoach even a guy like Carlo Ancelotti. And I think to a certain extent he did, especially in that second half. He really was able to contain the midfield specifically of Real Madrid and a bit in attack as well. But I do think that if you got prime Vini, prime Mbappe in this match, it would have been very different. This is a very different side when Vini and Mbappe don't score.
Really struggling, aren't they, recently? Yeah. This is their last 5 results in La Liga, just the 1 win in those 5 games. Why do you think Vini Jr. and Kylian Mbappe were so quiet today? Was it simply explained by the fact that they've got one eye on the midweek game?
Maybe. I do think that it's different.
But for me, that's not an excuse. If you're a player like Kylian Mbappe or a player like Vini Jr., you've got to have a bit more pride in your performance against a side like this that you should be winning against Real Betis, and step up, get it done, and then play the game in midweek and play well there as well. Why can't you play well in both games?
I mean, I agree, but it's clear that they lacked intensity. I mean, like I said earlier, maybe even a bit lackadaisical. It could be fatigue, it's understandable with fixture congestion, but that's not an excuse when you're Real Madrid. That can't be an excuse when you're Real Madrid. This is a club that expects to win every single match that they play, and at the very least, be at their top level every single match that they play. You could say that's maybe not possible for every single match when they have this many matches in a season, but Kylian Mbappe can't be at a level where he's not running a ball out, where Vini Jr. can't be in a game this important, not be pressing and pushing to the very end. It can't happen, especially in a tight La Liga race where, this could be, Real Madrid is in a position right now where they can go without a trophy this season. They can win a couple, but they can also go without winning any trophies this season. So every single game is extremely important. If Real Madrid don't win a trophy, we're talking. It will be an uprising in Madrid. That can't happen in any season. So they have to be on in every single match. Is that too much to ask for a guy like Kylian Mbappe? Maybe, but he has to do it because he's a star, and that's where he is right now.
Up until this weekend, most people have still been saying that Real Madrid were their favourites to win the La Liga title. How much of a killer blow is this performance?
mathematically,
Is it a killer
obviously.
blow?
I don't think it's a killer blow. No, it's not a killer blow, but it will affect them. And with, like I said, the fixture congestion's only going to get worse the more that they advance in Europe as well.
I mean, one shot between these two.
It's
That's
not
just
enough.
not good enough.
It's not good enough. Not good enough for these two guys that are absolute superstars and can turn it on at any given moment. We've seen that, right? Where the team not looking good and these two guys save Real Madrid, save them a point, save them 3 points. You've seen it time and time again. So just getting one shot between these two guys, it's simply not good enough.
Is that the one problem in football when you've got a side that's so focused on star players? And we saw it with PSG in previous seasons with Neymar and Mbappe when he was there. It was almost like, well, if they didn't play well, then what do we do? And that's what they've set up at Real Madrid. You've got two stars, Vinny Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, and if they do have an off day like they did today, it feels a bit like everyone else is looking around saying, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah, and you don't expect to have that issue. I mean, they do have some players on the bench. It's not the deepest squad that we've seen Real Madrid have, or it's definitely not the deepest squad in all of Europe. But they have enough to be able to, okay, if Mbappe doesn't have a good game, if Vinny doesn't have a good game, and there's guys, Rodrigo, there's Endrick, there's loads of midfielders that, and granted they have some injury issues as well, but there's enough on that squad to be able to make up for the lack of scoring of your superstars. They're not going to score in every single game. They're not going to assist in every single game. You need more from the rotation players that really make up this Real Madrid squad.
Do you think Carlo Ancelotti's rightfully going to be criticised in the next couple of days? Or
Yes.
does everyone forget if they go and beat Atletico in the Champions League?
Because this isn't a fatal blow to their La Liga season, and they're still, 2, maybe 3 points back, depending on what happens with Barcelona tomorrow. I think that they move on. It's such a big match against Atletico Madrid. I think that if they're able to go and win that first leg, I think that the noise will quiet down a little bit for Ancelotti.
Okay, so frustration for Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid getting the job done. Here's the confirmation of the games on Saturday in La Liga. Rayo Vallecano and Sevilla playing out a 1-1 draw. Confirmation the defeat for Real Madrid against Real Betis 2-1 in that one. 1-0 for Atletico against Athletic Club. And then coming up on Sunday, 10:15 a.m. Eastern, can Barcelona do it against Real Sociedad?